This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman and Riley Smith. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Well, good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Monday, June the 27th, 2022. Coming up today, I'll be talking with National Pork Producers Council, Mr. Nick Giordano, and he is in the Washington, D.C. office. We talk about the climate for the pork industry here in Washington. We'll also have a check of your ag weather outlook, but first, let's kick things off with a check of the markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, we're at the end of the trading day for Monday, and we're going to turn to Robin Schmahl of Ag Dairy, which is part of agmarket.net with John Stewart and Associates. Robin, thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
I appreciate it. It's been a great day so far.
Yeah, it's been interesting to say the least. You see corn lower and soybeans the only one that's really going higher. What is the story out there today?
Well, corn got hit overnight right away because true to form, I shouldn't say true to form, but the weather forecasters were completely wrong, or by and large were wrong, because we had better rain coverage over the weekend, which really hit the corn. And corn is in a situation where conditions are high. 70% good to excellent last week. They're looking at maybe 69% this week, but the crop is looking pretty good right now, and the beneficial rains and with the more moderate temperatures, that hit the corn a lot more. Even though export inspections were a little bit better than the previous week, it's kind of like the focus has been on corn, and so now that some of the concern is taken away, it's kind of like a Katie bar the door, although we did increase on Friday, but we retested those lows again from Thursday today. That's been a focus. Now on the soybean side, we had some good support from soybean oil, meal as well. But on the soybean side, we've got, there's some potential there that a longer period, now some longer term weather forecast showed maybe some dryness more coming into August. And of course, long-term weather forecasts are, but I think that's why we saw a little bit more support in the soybeans relative to the corn this week. Now, soybeans are looking at almost steady with good to excellent relative to last week at 68%.
So we got a big report again coming Thursday. What do you think we're going to see? I mean, there's a lot of talk that USDA is going to change some acres, but nobody really kind of agrees on which direction they're going.
No, it's one of those things where we've had a number of later planted corn in some areas. So it's going to be one of those years where I don't think it's going to be a real good, solid handle on our acreage report. Now, Ag Market, we're anticipating 89.7 million acres, beans at 90 for corn, beans at 91.1 million acres, and all wheat at 47.4. Now, the uncertainty of where the market is going to be is because of that. We've had some adverse weather during planting. Then we had some dry weather that didn't have some good germination. We had some replants. And it's just going to be one of those years where it's going to be a mixed bag, and we don't know where it's going to go. And they'll probably end up later maybe making another revision or having another acreage report a little bit later once they get a better handle on everything.
All right. And looking at the livestock today, how did things shake out there for the cattle and the hogs?
Well, cattle seem to be biding their time a little bit. Well, I should say biding their time. They had the cattle on feed report on Friday, which was neutral to slightly friendly to the market. So it really didn't create a whole lot of market move there. What's looking at for this week is that there's an uncertainty as how much cattle were purchased ahead last week. We saw $4 higher cash last week. The anticipation isn't for that much of a gain this week, but how much did the Packers buy ahead? That's the main thing. Do Packers need to be as aggressive this week? Feedlots are going to want more, but the uncertainty of how many the Packers have on hand already moving into the July 4th weekend is what kept the market fairly neutral today. Now, on the hog side, we did see some pressure on the hogs, but we're going to see some choppiness, I believe, until the hog and pig report, quarterly hog and pig report that comes out on Wednesday. So I think we're just going to be moving back and forth. Cutouts at midday were 67 cents lower. We needed to see some strength in cutouts. We may see something a little bit different than that in the end, but main focus is going to be choppy both tomorrow and Wednesday as traders basically square up positions prior to the report.
All right, Robin, a lot of great information as always. And if folks want to talk marketing strategies with agmarket.net, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Well, they can call me directly at 877-256-3253 or go to our website, agmarket.net. Phone number's on there. Contact information is on there. Feel free to pick up the phone or send an email.
All right, sounds good, Robin. We thank you again, as always, for the information. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, I believe.
Yes, I'll be on deck tomorrow, and I always appreciate you allowing me to be on your show.
And that again was Robin Schmahl of Ag Dairy. They're partnered with agmarket.net, part of John Stewart and Associates. Let's go ahead and take a look at those closing numbers from the folks at Bar Chart. July corn down 6 at 7.44 1/4. December down 21 cents at 6.53 even. July soybeans 19 3/4 cents higher at 16.30 1/2. August up 8 3/4 at 15.29 1/2. November soybeans up 8 1/2 at 14.32 3/4. Soy meal for August up $3.20 at 4.1460. Soy oil up 92 cents at 67.85. Chicago wheat down 19 at 9.17 1/2. Minneapolis down 26 at 10.44 1/2. Kansas wheat down 19 1/2 at 9.78 3/4. September oats down 24 1/4 at 5.08 3/4. August live cattle up a dime at 133.47. August feeders $1.62 higher at 174.12. Lean hogs down 75 cents at 110.17. Pork cutouts down 50 cents at 111.35. Class 3 milk is unchanged today at 24.33. And that's been a check of your Ag Market Recap. When we come back after our quick break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, on the soy checkoff, I'll be talking to Nick Giordano of the National Pork Producers Council. He'll be telling us about the climate in Washington, D.C. for the pork industry. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AM/PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Well, when it comes to policy and Washington and the pork industry, you don't get much more expertise than Nick Giordano of the National Pork Producers Council. We caught up with him during the World Pork Expo, and we talked about what the climate is for the industry. And here's what he had to say. All right, we're here at World Pork Expo 2022 in Des Moines on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, talking with Nick Giordano. And Nick, over in the Washington, D.C. office, obviously, you deal with a lot of things going on the Hill. First of all, I'm sure our producers want to know, what is the climate there for ag and for the pork industry in particular in D.C. right now?
Well, we always make our voice heard on behalf of pork producers. We're, relatively speaking, a very small sector of the overall economy, and even within agriculture, we're dwarfed by a lot of other sectors. But I think we're known for punching above our weight, so producers can rest assured that day in and day out, not only before the Congress, but the administration as well, and also the embassies, because trade is so important to us. We're very engaged, but the overall climate, I think, come as no surprise to folks, is not good. There's a lot of partisan rancor, but we work both sides of the aisle because we got to try and get along with everybody. We got to tell the story on behalf of producers. We got to defend and enhance their bottom line.
And like you said, it might be the smaller sector in agriculture and a part of the economy, but the thing is, no other sector produces bacon. So I mean, that's obviously your ace in the hole there.
It sure is. And when you look at sectors that have benefited from international trade, boy, the pork industry is at the top of the list across the economy, not just within ag. It's been so important to us, and fortunately in my career I've had a front seat row, and it's just been a phenomenal opportunity. Things are a little bit slow on trade right now, but we're always hopeful, because when we get market access, our product is so good, it's safe, it's high quality, it's affordable. We just do great when we get access.
So talking about trade, what is the climate right now? What are we looking at in that sector? Where are some of our pluses and some things maybe we'd want to see a little bit of improvement on?
Well, we've done best in the past when the United States has been negotiating free trade agreements, and unfortunately we haven't had free trade negotiations going on for some time. We had a period where the United States was deeply engaged in trade wars. We were retaliated against, which really kind of turned the industry upside down and made things very hard, obviously losses for producers and very difficult for staff. Fortunately, we don't have quite so much turbulence these days. I wish we had a more affirmative trade agenda with FTAs under negotiation, but the reality is we don't. Although we keep talking about it because it's so important to our producers. But we do have the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Now, that's not a free trade agreement, but we have been pushing, and many members of Congress have been pushing for a more enhanced and deeper approach on things like market access. We'll see. It's something we're very engaged. We're discussing our issues with the administration, as we always do. But separate, and of course what we'd really like, and the biggest bang for the buck, would be the United States getting back into what used to be called TPP, which is now called CPTPP. And that would be phenomenal for us. So that's really our number one ask. But separate and apart from kind of these big picture things like the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, we're hard at work on bilateral pork trade issues, working both with USTR, USDA, the foreign governments where appropriate, and we've had a lot of success. We've gotten more access in the Philippines. That's been a real success story for us. We've gotten more access in Vietnam. So even though we don't have a broader trade agenda that's moving ahead briskly, we're hard at work on behalf of producers trying to get more market access. And also, a lot of what we do is just maintaining market access. We ship a lot of pork out of the United States, and countries are always finding ingenious ways to come up with restrictions, and so we play a lot of defense, and so a lot of what we do is just trying to protect the gains in the exports that we have.
And before we get into like different trade, growing trade and all that, obviously the Indo-Pacific framework that was talked about, what makes that different than the CPTPP? What's the comparison there? So some producers are like, well, is this a replacement? Is this something that's totally different? If it's a replacement, how are we going to get these other countries to go along with it? What's the situation there?
Okay, so trade has been very sensitive. The last President Trump said no way on TPP. There's a lot of people concerned about trade deals. So this administration has launched something where the objective is closer relations, but not a full-fledged trade deal. And so, for example, when tariffs are lowered or eliminated, U.S. law has to change. And the basic rule of thumb is anytime U.S. law changes, Congress has to have a vote. Well, on the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, The administration, I'm sure, will be consulting with Congress because Congress will be demanding consultations. The extent to which they consult, I don't know. That remains to be seen. They're consulting with us, and that's important. But we don't expect tariffs to be eliminated. That's our ask, which is why getting back in the CPTPP is so important to us. But this is going to be focused more on supply chains, on facilitating trade, on things where U.S. law isn't going to change, and where there can be more coordination between the United States and the Indo-Pacific nations.
Okay. And now you obviously talked about, playing defense, sometimes, playing offense too, and getting into different markets. Obviously, we learned during the trade wars that you can't have all your eggs in one basket, and it's important to have that broad spectrum. How are we sitting on that diversification there?
Well, in any given year, the U.S. pork industry exports to over 100 countries. And I've had a front row seat in my career, to the expansion of exports. So we're a lot more diversified today than we used to be. But, there are countries where, for example, during the trade wars back a number of years ago, we were really hurt by the tariffs in China, by the tariffs in Mexico. I mean, boy, we worked very hard to get out from under the Mexican tariffs. We've gotten out from most of the Chinese tariffs, but not everything. We're still at a 25% tariff disadvantage to most other suppliers into China, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, Nick, we thank you so much for giving us all that insight on trade. A lot to think about, a lot to understand for these producers out here. If you had any parting messages for our producers in Iowa, what kind of things do you want to say to them?
Well, NPPC staff is committed to taking our direction from the board, which takes direction from producers in Iowa and around the United States. We work hard every day on your behalf to enhance your bottom line, not just on trade and exports, but on labor. We got to have more access to labor. That'll help not just on farm, but in our plants. We add more capacity in our plants through more labor. That helps our producers. Speaking of plants, line speeds, that's been very important. We've spent a lot of time on that. We have faster line speeds. Safe food and protecting workers and worker safety are not mutually exclusive. So it's very important to increase the line speeds in the plants, labor. There's just so many issues day in and day out that we're engaged on behalf of producers. And our lines at NPPC are always open. So if folks want to get in touch with us, if they're not SIP members, we just encourage them to reach out. And if they are members, reach out and get the benefit of your memberships. We want to hear from you.
That again was Nick Giordano of the National Pork Producers Council here on Ag Matters PM. Let's run down that ag weather outlook. Well, it was sunny and blue skies here in Des Moines. Another nice day after a really beautiful weekend. It was nice to be outside and not be sweating and roasting so much as you always would be here the last couple of weeks. Now, some warmer weather is going to return. When is it going to come back? Well, let's see what the next 24 hours has in store from us from the National Weather Service. Well, it was another mild day out there today, and we saw sunny skies and temperatures from the low to mid 80s. Tonight, look for mostly clear skies statewide, just a slight chance of showers in the northwest. We'll see temperatures ranging from the upper 50s to the low 60s. And tomorrow, sunny skies and just a little bit warmer, looking at temperatures from 85 to 90. Now checking the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee will be the hot spot, sunny skies in 90. Shenandoah look for sunny skies in 86. Des Moines sunny in 87. Waterloo sunny 85. Albia sunny and 84. And Clinton will also be sunny skies and a high of 85 degrees. And that's been your Ag Weather Outlook. Just like that, we're at the end of today's episode of Ag Matters PM. We thank you for joining us. You can find all our content at iowaagnet.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, and find all of our video content, as well as past episodes of AM/PM on our YouTube channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe to get notifications when we upload new material. We also have a free twice daily market podcast you can find on Google, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Hoffman. For Riley Smith and for Avery Haskell, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.